गुरुदेवो महेश्वरा गुरु साक्षात् परम ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। ओम शांति शांति शांति। The other day I gave one of the significances of this invocation. Today I want to say something more about it, another aspect. This invocation has a division in the middle. First it says, the Guru is Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara. Then there is a pause. Then it says, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma. When you say Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara, these are names of mythological gods. And also their functions are creation, sustentation and destruction or dissolution. In other words, the reference is to the gross, the subtle and the causal. We have the wakeful experience, the dream experience and the deep sleep experience. It's a process of creation or activity. Then that registers its impression on the mind, and that becomes a memory. The memory sustains it for many, many years. And as you pass on from one object of interest to another object of interest, what we have been previously dwelling on, that disappears from our mind. If it is staying on, the same interest is staying on, then the life process itself will be stagnated. But there is a shifting of interest. So we go from one to another. So this can be understood in terms of psychology. A psychology of alternating consciousness or altering consciousness. The first aspect of consciousness is where impressions come. The second aspect is how those impressions change into memories. And the third is how those impressions and the memories both vanish from our mind and its place can be taken by someone else, something else. And these are mythologically symbolized as Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara. So Brahma is presiding. Brahma means he who creates. We are creating, no one else is creating. It is with our own sense organs and our own mind that we create a situation. And it is the same consciousness or psyche that is storing up that memory and recalling it for many future references. And mind has a capacity to efface a thing temporarily. And where the memory goes, we do not know. We only know that it goes into some unknown realm, and from there it can be regained. In other words, the reference to Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara can be a description of our world experience and the three phases of the world experience. And then you put a pause there. And after that said, param. Param means going beyond anything of a phenomenal nature. To look beyond, to go beyond. If you take a scientist such as a physicist, or a chemist, or a biologist, he looks at this world and goes beyond what is seen with the senses. For instance, a physicist can say, this is, although we all know this as a pair of glasses, can say, this is matter, this book is matter. And he may go still further and say this is a colony of molecules. And he may go further and say this is a continuous vibration of certain energy, certain wavy energy. He is not saying then what we are saying. He goes beyond what we are immediately saying. So in any science, it is only normal to reduce the many into quantifiable, classifiable categories. And then all categories are reduced to one single category, that is matter, chemical, life, etc. So here also we are reducing the phenomenal into a noumenon and call it Brahman, Sakshat in all reality. We can use two words, real and actual. Actually, it is a pair of glasses. Really, it's energy. Sanskrit word for actually is yathartha. Yathavat means in whichever way you see it now, in that way, yathavat. It has a meaning. It has an artha. It's called yathartha. It's an actual. Param artha. Param means in an absolute sense. It has another meaning. So, ordinarily we see how it is presented. When we become more critical, when we become more intuitive, we have so this is called a representative knowledge. It is presented to the senses, and in the senses an image is made. That image is a representation of what is presented, and of that representation we make an interpretation. So our mind is suggesting. You are seeing now a pair of glass. That is an interpretation of a representative image. Thus, the world which we see is a representative world. Nobody sees the world. We only see what is presented to our senses. And to think that there is a separate mind sitting there, these are all our assumptions. For the sake of explanation we assume that there is a mind, there is an intellect, there is a self, but your guess is as good as my guess. This is our guess. One thing is sure, I am seeing the glass here, you are also seeing it there. I can stretch my hand where I say, although the space that I say and the time that I understand are as much psychological as the object presented, and even then my assumption comes true, I can pick it up, and you also agree to it. So there is a level where we have a common consent about things, and that is possible because something is presented, although we do not know what that something is. Now the rishis want us to understand there is nothing apart from what you experience. Nothing. So if you are experiencing a fact of a thing, that must be warranted by what is already present. And so all the names and all the forms and all the qualities and all the quantities which you see here are subsisting in a reality. And it is that reality they call Brahman. And when that reality is immediately related to the consciousness with which you know it, then you are giving a center to it. You have a center of this universe in your consciousness, and I have a center of that universe in my consciousness, and thus it is as if any number of people, any number of consciousness, so many centers for this reality. It is all circumstances and all circumference with all centers in it. Any point which is taken on a sphere or a ball could be the center of the entire ball. Similarly, the consciousness with which we visualize, that becomes the center of it, and then from the center, when you look at the whole, you call it Atman. Without giving preference to any special center, what is presentative, what is given, in its ultimate sense, you call it Brahman. And in your understanding of the Guru, the warning is, do not go away by the personality factor of one particular person whom you call Guru. We also say in the Sikh religion, first we have from Guru Nanak to Guru Gobind Singh, we have the 10 Gurus. And afterwards, you do not have a person as a Guru. The Grantha, which is considered pure, param, that itself is respected as a Guru. They are the word of the Guru and the word of the Guru. First are the personalities, and then we go beyond the personalities to the word. Similarly, in this prayer also, you say Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara. After the pause, you are going to the transcendental aspect called the absolute. And the same secret is discussed more elaborately in the seventh verse, the seventh chapter. And this seventh chapter is very difficult for the reason that there are many controversial opinions about this are given by different teachers. We have many systems in India, although on the whole we call Hinduism. Like Christianity or Islam, we cannot say that there is a religion called Hinduism. Indian people, they have developed many traditions, many philosophical visions, and each philosophical vision has a basic norm, a criterion, and the philosophy is based on that particular stand. Of various schools like the Jaina philosophy, the Buddhist philosophy, the Charvaka philosophy, Sankhya, Yoga, Nyaya and Vaisheshika, Purva Mimamsa and Uttara Mimamsa. Uttara Mimamsa is called Vedanta, and within Vedanta there are many schools. At least we know the non-dual school, Advaita, qualified non-dual school, Vishishtadvaita, the philosophy of ultimate truth, Tattvavada, which is also called dualism, although the exponents of that school do not agree to the word dualism, it's called. Then Bheda Bhedam, Shuddhadvaita. There are various schools of Vedanta. Shankara, Ramanuja, Vallabha, Nimbarka, Madhva, Vallabha, Nimbarka. These are the great exponents. Now, people, later philosophers like Sri Aurobindo, whose ashram was in Pondicherry, and Ramana Maharshi, whose ashram was quite close to that, Tiruvannamalai, they were also holding very divergent view, particularly about the purport of this chapter. According to Sri Aurobindo, this is the most essential chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, where you are shown that you need a personal God to conduct your life, and your relationship is to be established with this God. And Shankara, for instance, he says this is a chapter which takes us away from all these mundane world and the physical forms of things. And if a person thinks that God has a form, or God is like a man, then it's all wrong. He has not understood anything. So one group of people advocate for a personal God based on this chapter, and another set of people advocate for an impersonal reality, which is to be philosophically understood. and in no other way it can be a true concept. So these are the uh, two opposite views which we have to examine properly as we go. This chapter is also called Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Jnana means knowledge. Vijnana means a specific way of knowing. V here means Visheshana. In a Vishesha, in a specific way. How you know it. Of the union, yoga. Yoga here means a state of oneness. What is that state of oneness? Which you get when you specifically understood. And for that there should be a knowledge of the phenomenon, and knowledge of what is beyond the phenomenon. The param. In the phenomenal, we see three aspects. I am sitting on a chair. I have a body which weighs, and that weight can be supported by this chair, and this chair is resting on solid ground, and this has an extension. It occupies space. Where the chair is, the table cannot be put. There is an impenetrability of matter, and so each mass requires a separate space for it to occupy, unless it is something like an X-ray which can pass through one body. Otherwise, they all require separate spaces, and these are capable of radiating from that energies like the light, which can stimulate the sense organs, and thus it can be perceived by making sound, it can be heard. If it has an odor, you smell it, and you can taste it. Thus the objects of the world are in a relation with physical organisms which have such sensitivity, and thus they are perceived and they are perceptible. And this is one category, that is called Jagrat, or the wakeful, and the grossness is called Sthula. In the phenomenal world, one main chunk of it is this gross world, which we experience in the wakeful through our senses. And the senses are aided by memories. I recognize this to be a chair, I recognize this to be a book. What I previously read and understood as the meaning of that book, now it comes back to my head. Thus, there is a stack of information, an entire library of information bits which come to my head. And all these are belonging to a subtle category, sukshma. A chair and a chair that is remembered are not the same thing. I cannot sit on a chair which is only imagined. In the Arabian Nights Tales, you read of the Barmecide's feast, where a person was served so many things on an imaginary table with imaginary dish and imaginary cakes, things like that. Those are only subtle, but those subtle things are necessary as concepts to substantiate a percept. The old saying is, a percept without a concept is hollow. A concept without a percept is unreal. So both are to be there, and each one is complementing the other. And this is the second aspect. Although we call it swapna, dream, it is only because in the dream world, the memory fragments are used for compositions of dreams. So we call it swapna. But swapna is all the time happen. According to Yoga Vasishta, 80% of our actual life is soaked with our dreams. It is not pure Jagrat, it is Jagrat Swapna or Swapna Jagrat. So much of conceptual substantiation is required to speak, to communicate, to recognize, to recall. Then we have third aspect. So this is Sukshma or subtle, essentially belonging to the subject, and it can be likened to the dream, the Swapna. It is coming from inside, it is stopped there, it is revived, recalled. The mechanisms of all these are hardly known to anyone. There was some 4 or 5 years ago in this country a big conference of many neurophysiologists and psychologists and people who have been working on this subject called memory. They assembled and they placed all their studies about memory. 27 leading scientists tried to establish the physico-chemical basis of memory, and ultimately they came to the conclusion that they do not know actually what memory is, except they can establish certain conditioning in lower animals. Is it belonging to, is there any place in the memory, in the brain cell where memories are stacked? Is there any chemical basis for it? Many suggestions are put forward, but it is a very vast and interesting subject. Now the third aspect is, our mind is capable of a selection in structuring a percept. Things which are irrelevant for my present purposes are pushed away to the background and something is highlighted. So there is a highlighting and there is a pushing back, and that makes the structure. And in German psychologists, they call it the Gestalt. So in the Gestaltation, it's a matter of selective structuring. And for the selective structuring, there must be some motivation. There must be some special power presiding over there to decide what form should be related to what form. Art is called this an ensemble. If a still picture is to be painted by an artist, he decides to put on the table some flowers or fruits, china, in a certain way or both. And that special way of putting it is called the ensemble, and the artist knows why exactly he does that. So there must be a creative artist within us who has a purpose, and according to the purpose of that consciousness or unconsciousness, things are called to our attention. And as soon as they have served their purpose, they are relegated, they are pushed away, so that the next thing could be presented. It is done with a great ingenuity. Now I am speaking to you. I have no idea whatsoever how the words are presented within me, and how one word after another word is coming sequentially according to the requirement of grammar, according to the requirement of logic, according to the requirement of the presentation of my arguments. And there is such a rapid flow of words. So the way in which I have to use my muscles, my nervous system, these are all outside my consciousness. It's all done for me. I do not know how it is done. And so we have to think of a dark area within us. Dark in the sense of we do not know. We may call it unconscious. If it is not known to us, we may say unknown. So the unconscious and the unknown seems to be working meticulously. This we are already discussing, by which our consciousness is manifested. Our consciousness is maneuvered, controlled, regulated. And it is with that consciousness alone you think, you reason, you think here, you can find out ultimate truth, absolute truth. It is not absolute, it's only relative phases of consciousness. And it is with the relative phases of consciousness you perceive that you will be able to get at that which is not relative. Because when you say relative, you contrast it conceptually to what is not relative. Although we call the absolute, say the absolute is as much a concept as the relative. Both are concepts of the mind, concepts of consciousness. And where we have control, it's only here, where the words come, ideas come, awareness comes. Until it comes, we do not know. Only after coming it, we know. But within that, there is a possibility of having an access to what you do not know. If I sit in my room and want to give a talk about this chapter like this, no words will come. When an occasion is made and I put expectation of you people before me, and I take up the challenge and I gear myself to it, then all these ideas open up. So that means, irrespective of the fact that I do not know what I am speaking, I can create a situation by which such areas in us can be opened up. Only here there is a relevancy for search, any attempt that can be made. So we have now exhausted the first three aspects, called the sthula, the gross, or the physical; Sushma, the psychological, the subtle; and causal, the unknown. After that, is there anything? And they put a pause there. And they say, Om, Om, then that's a silence. You cannot say anything about it, just silence. You go silent about it. But you know that you did not cease to be. After the articulation of after also there was something. You continue. An existence which you recognize. And there they have no name for it, they just call it the fourth. For the first three they gave names. They said that is gross, subtle, causal. And then they said fourth, because they have no name, they cannot describe it. So there is an indescribable element, which you can experience only as a wonder. And it is that wonder aspect, the mystery aspect, to which all these are leading you. And now, those who feel that they have a grasp of the first half until we come to the fourth, they need a God, Ishvara. And in religions like Christianity, they made it analogical. And the analogy is made almost like a real, just like the map is the territory. God is like a father. Then once you accept God is a father, then everything about the father you can read into God. Father, does he not take care of the family? Yes. And so God takes care of the family. Should we not respect our father? Yes. So we should respect God. And will not the God always desire only your welfare? Yes, God only for our welfare. That means God will not deceive us, and the welfare that to which He is leading us, it is always beneficial to us. So we should go by God, trust in God, and go by God. And if you don't do that, then it is wrong. This was the idea of sin. Sin came. Yeah, it needs a lot of faith for one to think of an analogy, of an example given as a real thing. God as a father, we belong to the family, brotherhood of man, because we are all sons of the same father. If you accept the first premise, then all the other things follow. If you don't accept the first premise, if you question that, then all the other things fall like say a house of cards. Now, Upanishads, they didn't want to give that analogy. Instead of God, they say we have only one self. There is one self, Atman, which is shared by all. It's better because there is no analogy here. But then the question is, do we know what Atman is? And if you do not know what Atman is, then how do we experience that we are all one? So Atman is defined. What is the definition of Atman? The definition of Atman is, it exists. And it can be always contrasted with what does not exist. So wherever there is an imperative, a binding experience which you cannot refute as existential, then you admit that there is Satness, there is existence. Second, that existence enables you to have an awareness of it. You are aware that I am talking, I am aware that you are listening, that awareness happens right now, and it's a very special thing, self-founded, self-originating, and the convictions that you get, it's an evidence which the self seeks and finds. So it's called self-evident. When you say A is A, which is an axiom. Axiom is not to be proved. And that axiom is self-evident, evident to the same awareness from which the argument comes, the formula is put forward. And so that is the second aspect. And the third aspect is, so now we know two aspects of Atman. One is existence. Second is awareness. And the third is, it has a value. What is value? A person who has an identity with existence and consciousness is affected. Affected either favorably or unfavorably. When you are affected favorably, you are happy. When you are affected unfavorably, you are unhappy. So there is either happiness or unhappiness. And it is this happiness or unhappiness, in a wider sense, is making meaning to everything. A thing is meaningful because of the value of it. So it is this meaning and value is what you call Ananda. And we are always affected by anything which we experience. As soon as you know something exists and you are aware what that is, it affects you. Either you say it doesn't matter. That means indifference. That indifference is where the value is not significant. It is not a threat. It is not a promise. If it is a threat, you will be affected. If it's a promise, you will be affected. If there is neither threat nor promise, you take it as ordinary. So when the threat is there, you want to avoid it. And the promise is that you want to get to it. So there is attraction and repulsion. And these trios of attraction, repulsion, indifference, the relevancy of that is called the value or Ananda. And these three are the criteria of self. We all experience this, and so there is a homogeneity in that mechanism, in that principle, which makes us experience existence, experience awareness, and experience value. And that homogeneity is considered as a unifying principle, or a principle to which you can reduce the fundamental nature of everybody's consciousness. Thus we arrive at what we call Atman. So far so good. And then why do you think that you should have anything other than Atman, such as Brahman? So in this consciousness, you have always to recognize you as a prime factor, because it is based on your experience, your consciousness, your existence. does the world go on without you? And Bishop Berkeley, he said everything is an idea. If everything is an idea, that idea keeps the world going. How? He said essay is perceptive. Perceiving is the mark of its existence. It is, therefore you perceive it. So this world, my world, exists because I perceive. So what happens when I sleep? Is the world rolled up and it goes out of existence? That he said, even if you don't perceive, then your wife is perceiving, or your father is perceiving, or some other people on the other side of the globe is perceiving when you are all asleep. So somebody is perceiving. Although it is not possible, just for argument's sake, suppose all conscious beings go into a big coma, will that be the end of the world? No, then God will be perceived. God is looking anyway, all the time. So he needed someone other than a corporeal being and to perceive the world to keep its existence. And similarly, when you take yourself out of the system and still the totality of the system to go on, you need some other arrangement. What is that arrangement? Then you say you are only a fragment. You are only one little bit, like a drop in an ocean of consciousness. And that ocean of consciousness is manifesting through everyone, through you also. And your coming and your going won't make much difference to this world. May make its little difference because your consciousness rolls up your universe. So that much difference it makes. So a number of beings come to life because of the solar energy. But when the tree dies, sun does not get paralyzed, although energy comes from the sun. So there is something which you cannot put in the reverse order. And you may say that there is a need to assume there is a total to which the individual belongs. And so we are presuming, apart from the Atman, there should be the concept of Brahman. Those who are familiar with the evolution of the idea of Brahman, right from the inception of the Vedas to the time of a person like Shankara, will see that the philosophy itself came to have a shape from very amorphous and vague perceptions of truth of many individuals, and it became collectively manifested at different periods of history until it became a solid truth from which you cannot turn away. A good example is if you take from the time of Galileo Galilei to Newton, and from Newton's time to Einstein's time, from Einstein's time to the present day science, how they were all contributing to the clarification of the one notion about this visible world, which has now become mathematically woven with so much coherence that if any attack is turned against it by an individual, it won't affect. Only when its mathematical logic is disproved by another stronger possibility of mathematical logic, it fails. Similarly, the idea of Brahman has now become validated through centuries and centuries of a recorded experience of seers who have vouched for an underlying reality of the phenomenal, which is different from the phenomenal, and that it is not separate from the phenomenal. Different for the peripheral mind to perceive, but fundamentally inseparable and true, and hence it's called Brahman. And in this chapter, it's called Jnana Vijnana Yoga. Krishna is first gathering the entire momentum of the study to one single principle, and that principle is spoken of here as I or me. This can lead a devotee to think of a benevolent God who is out there standing as Krishna with his four hands, blue color, lotus maze, conchal and chakra discus in his hand, with a golden crown, peacock feathers, vanamala garlands, or with a flute, with a bewitching smile, and think it is that person who is saying, I am the one who created this world. That's fine, but it's a story. You are imagining that, and that imagination can please many people. That imagination can satisfy many people in their own way, and they can feel that they get the grace from it, and it brings great joy to them. But to another person, he can also think, the word I, which is spoken of here, take it in its face value. I am also saying I. You are also saying I. So if we bracket your I and my I and everybody saying I, then it is the universality of your central consciousness which is projecting your universe. And thus you can find the cause of your universe within you. I perceive, and therefore it exists to me. Repeat that without proof. So we create our world, and here, not the individual who is creating the entire world, individual is creating his world, and thus everybody is participating. Schrödinger says, this world is a construct of percepts and concepts, which are structured in a very private part of this world, that is in your own brain. This is a scientist's view. And if you take that to an individual consciousness and stop there, then it becomes solipsism. I'm begging a question of your world beginning with you and ending with you. And then the world of common consent is not given its appropriate place. But here that is also to be recognized. And then this I which is spoken of is no more a blue-colored Krishna with peacock feather and all that. That's one beautiful image which you can, as a poet, as an artist, can appreciate it. So the philosophy of this chapter is such that the teacher can make his listeners a friend or an enemy. Because this and inadvertently you may walk on somebody's toes to explain this. The piety, the devotion that one feels for a person or God, you may not be able to sustain it. I give such a long introduction to it because here we are entering into a new phase of the Gita. The first 6 chapters marks one section, the next 6 chapters another section, and the last 6 chapters the third section. So in the middle section, from just theories, we are entering into a more intimate experience of the Gita. So if we do not make ourselves fully conversant with everything said there, it may not benefit us. And so we have now seen the world, the concept of the self, the concept of the absolute. We have also seen the interrelation between the world to which you belong and the self or the consciousness within you, which is interpreting the physical world to you in terms of awareness and values, and also the formulation of a normative notion, which is called the absolute. And only by the formulation of a normative notion that you can assign a meaning both to your life and the life of others and this world. Because you need something with which you can measure what you understand. So the 4 fundamental questions: what is this world? From where did it originate? What is life? Where did it originate? What is consciousness? How did it originate? And then, is this true? If this is true, how do I know it? So these are the four fundamental questions. All these are telescoped in a very beautiful manner in this chapter. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Sakta Manaha Partha Yogam Yunjan Madashrayah Asamsayam Samagram Mam Yathatnyasyati Satchrunu. Krishna said, having a mind attached me, O Partha, Arjuna, and joining unitively through yoga and having me as a refuge, how you will know me without any doubt, comprehensively, that do here. So, Maya Asakta Manaha, Mad Ashrayaha, and Mad Yogam. You have to think of three things here. Asakti, Sa means what is. Ta means to be conjoined. What is seen before you, or what you consider as is, when you are so much conjoined with it that you cannot separate yourself from it, then you call it Sakti. Here, Maya Asakta, the me to whom you are conjoined, to whom you are attached. So if here Krishna is taken not as a person, but as the Absolute, then it is with that you have conjoined yourself. And if the me in me and the me in the Supreme are not two, my reference to the me in me itself is a reference to the universal me. I have an individual me. I can also think of myself as a universal me. When a person is called Mahatman, that person's consciousness has no frontiers, and he admits, accepts every person's interest as his interest. Everybody's welfare as his welfare. Then when he says, I want to be happy, that means I want all these people to be happy. My happiness is lying with the happiness of all. When a Buddhist monk, he decides, I cannot be happy with nirvana, is somewhere in the remote corner of this world someone is still suffering, then that happiness, that nirvana is not of any value to me, it's not valid. So such is their mercy, compassion. And then you call him a Mahatma. So that kind of an identification, if you have with the Absolute, then the me which you speak of here is not the individual me but the universal me. Second, that is Maya asakta, mad ashraya. Ashraya means a total dependency. You see, we are totally depending on an unconscious of which we know nothing. I sit here presuming that the right word will come in the right time, and it comes. I sit here presuming my breathing will go on as I talk, and I don't have to think of my breathing. It goes on. I put things into my mouth and swallow it without any thought how it gets digested, and it is broken up into little bits, and it goes into different tissues of my body, and my body is replenished. It's all done to me. So I am having a total ashraya. People say, is it not slavery that you think of someone as your ashraya? You are having an ashraya of a darkness, of an unknown entity, totally unknown. Why not you glorify it a little? Instead of thinking that unknown, unconscious factor is totally out of your reach, to think at least that it is benevolent, it is beneficial. Then you have feeling that you are depending on a trustworthy reality instead of a dark reality. It's the same. So mad ashraya, that whatever is your ashraya, that is me. So here you are divinizing that unconscious, that unknown, on which you are otherwise dependent. Madashraya. And then you say, and now the feeling that you have, you are you, and the total or the supreme is another, cast away that feeling. Then comes what? Yoga. You are one with that, whatever is. You have always a tendency to separate what we see and the seer. Actually, there is no separation. Yoga is not anything to be established because it is already there. Only a mistaking of what is to be avoided. Mistaking is, you think, I am the subject and the object is here. And when that mistake is discarded, you have understood your original uni, which is always there. Union is not anything to be established. There was no time when you are not united with it. And now an assurance is given from that side that I shall let you know the secret of how you are one with it. Jnananteham savijnanamidam paksham sheshadaha yajnatva neha bhuyonyat jnadavyam avashishyade. I shall teach you this pure wisdom together with this applied knowledge, without any omission, knowing which there will be nothing more here left over that should be known. We give here a symbolic representation of a denominator factor and a numerator factor. In the denominator factor, we have the symbols of earth, water, fire, air, space or akasha. The interrogations of consciousness which experiences mind. The decision taking ability of the mind called the intellect, and the affectivity where you feel I am affected, the ego. These are sitting behind the scene, and it is promoting a life where at the top you are conscious, the eye you are conscious, the ear you are conscious, everywhere you are conscious. You are capable of thinking. So there is an animation which is leading to more and more consciousness. That is the only aspect you know, so it is put on the numerator side. I shall now relate you secret pertaining to all this. Manishyanam sahasreshu kachidadati siddhaye yadadamavisithanam kachinno vetti tattvada. Among thousands of men, one perchance strives for perfection. Even among the striving who have attained, one perchance knows me according to proper principles. And at the very outset it is said, many try to understand what God is, what absolute is, what truth is, but hardly one among a million understand this. This is a difficult thing. But I am going to tell you in this chapter, I am here means the universal I. Whatever you have to know about, the entire. So here it is shown in this picture. So many are striving, millions and millions of people are striving, but hardly one comes to the path. And the most important word here is Kachit mam veti tattvadaha, knowing me according to proper principles, in the right manner. See again the words tat and tom are here. The tat aspect and the tom aspect. What is the tat? What is the tom? So we go back to the original word of symbol. This all this taken together becomes the tom aspect. And what cannot be drawn here, what cannot be shown here, but without which none of this could be drawn, that is the tat aspect. So you should know this in relation to what cannot be said. The visible and the calculable taken together, what makes the visible and the calculable meaningful? That you cannot say, but you know that there should be an underlying fact which makes this possible. And that, you see, the words are very inadequate. When you say underlying, overlying, these are all inadequacies of words which you should forget. Now coming to this, in verse 4 he says, Bhumirabo analo vayuhu kammano buddhirevacha ahankara idiyame pinna prakrtirashtadha. Earth, water, fire, air, sky, mind, reason, also and consciousness of individuality. Thus there is divided my eightfold nature. Earth, water, fire, air, space or akasha, mind, intellect, and ahankara. The first five mentioned are the physical aspect of us, and also they correspond to the five senses. Space is considered as having the quality, space not akasha, has the quality of shabda, sound. Air has the quality of touch. Fire has the quality of form. Water has the quality of taste. And earth has the quality of smell. So our first five sense perception are given priority here. This is a very beautiful thing. Sir, as Radhakrishnan, Dr. Radhakrishnan speaks of the idealist view of life. Indian life is an idealist view of life. It is not true. Indian philosophy is a realist view of life. The very first reference is to what is actual, Sat. Chit and Ananda comes only after. And to the category of Sat, existence, you perceive an existence by seeing it, by smelling it, by feeling it, by tasting it, by hearing it. And that is given here very first consideration. And then more subtle. These are the what I mentioned as the sthula or the gross. From the gross, then we are going to the second level. The second level you say mind. First thing is questions are coming into your mind. Series of interrogations are coming. And when an interrogation comes, memories are all called upon. So there is a recall of memory. And it is the reassembly of the memory which enables you to take a decision and make a volition, a will, and ichha. So the intellect and the memory are to be taken here as one. And so that is given here as the buddhi. Manas, buddhi. Buddhi here also includes chitta. And then you are affected by that. And it is that affectivity that brings motivation. You are knowing and also doing. You are perceiving and you are acting or reacting. To a stimulus, you give a response. So for the response, all these are given as stimulus. And then you are responding. How do you respond? You are responding in favor or against. And thus, what is given here could be true even of an ant, a mosquito. A mosquito comes and sits on your nose. Before you raise your hand, the mosquito has flown up. And it perceives danger. You bring your hand to an ant, the ant runs away. It perceives danger. So all beings, we share this experience with all. So it is said here, Kumirabo analo vayuhu kammano buddhirevacha ahankaraidiyam me pinna pragirirashtadha. And the whole thing he gave one name. Just as the physicist is reducing everything to a common name called matter. What is matter? In Latin, mater means mother, so the mother of things. Everything is reducible to the mother of things, it's matter. Last year, a couple of years ago, I got an encyclopedia of science and I looked for the word matter. There was no word called matter in it. Spirit was there, but matter was not there. Because you cannot say what matter is. Anyway, it's all reduced into matter, like that here, it's all reduced to Prakriti. What is Prakriti? Prakarshena karoti iti Prakriti. Prakarshena means in a systematic way, in an abundant way, when a thing can be precipitated, replicated, duplicated, continued, then you call it Prakriti. So things which are manifesting, which are multiplying, and which are becoming many, and then you call it Prakriti. So this is the world of Prakriti. Where is idealism there? There is no idealism. It is a very realistic approach to whatever is here. Then he goes to the next category. Apareyamidastanya prakriti vitti me param jivabhudam mahabaho yedam tharyade jagad. I have another nature where you see an assembly of all these, an integration of all these, and there you can see a central principle which is taking care of the physical, the chemical, the biological, the psychological, even the sociological, or which can even go to inquiries of truth, etc. Given it something like a plant, the leaves and flowers and roots. The roots are underground. The leaves and flowers are above. It is as if the leaf knows what is happening. If there is no sunlight, then it turns to where the sunlight is. It looks for perpetuating the life. And the flower knows how to behave when the bee or the butterfly or whatever that comes to pollinate, how to feed the pollen to it, how to receive the pollen, etc. So there is life which is in actual precipitation. And from the vegetative level to humans, we are all the same. Because of man's conceit, he thinks that he is very different from all these. But actually, we all belong to the same order, biological order. And here he speaks of the jiva element aspect. The jiva bhuta, two things. One is the life principle, and the second is the coming into being, the process of change, the process of becoming which is being perpetuated. So perpetuation here is even when you die, you are already living in another person. Your children are the continuators of your own chromosomes, your own genes, your own life. And if you take an Upanishad like the Aitareya Upanishad, it beautifully says how the son is the father, and how from that son there comes the third generation of the same father. So you continue to live. Here we don't have to bring any reincarnation theory, as Aitareya Upanishad puts it, because it's the life process for millions and millions of generations. There is a continuation going on, and in that continuity it is the same life. What is potent in a gene is fully actualized. It's only an unfoldment. There is nowhere a cut possible in the continuity of life. And so you are ancient. When you say Purana, the Purusha in you is Purana. Do not think that there is a Purana Purusha. So all Purushas are Purana, they are ancient. So now, this is also called Prakriti. So two aspects of Prakriti. A denominator aspect of Prakriti and a numerator aspect of Prakriti. And the denominator aspect is called, it is my Apara Prakriti, my lower. Here there the higher. The lower and the higher are not to be understood as inferior and superior, but as the denominator aspect and the numerator aspect. Because without this cannot be sustained. Even if there is life, could be a possibility of a life, so it is to be expressed through a physico-chemical medium, and for that the body is required. And therefore the whole thing is to be bracketed and known as, this is my nature. My nature. The word my, you can take it by yourself. You can say this is my nature. You don't have necessarily to say this is Sri Krishna's nature. Because I have already seen that the me in me, the I in me is corresponding to the I and the me which all people say, and the universality of that is recognized. And so you can say this is my nature. Here my has no egoistic connotation. It has only a universal connotation. Yedadyonini pudani sarvanityubadharaya aham krishnasya jagadaha prabhavaha pralayastadha. Know that all beings have this as their common source, womb. I am the becoming as also the dissolution of all this phenomenal world, Jagat. Again, in the same sense you are using the word I. Know this, that all beings have this as their common source. Very easy to understand. I don't think anybody will dispute that there is another source other than this, such as having this. There should be some stuff. There should be moisture. There should be heat. And there should be air. And there should be space to occupy, for the mass to be there. And when consciousness comes in the form of various questions, and volition is taken upon deciding what we should do, and it is all in terms of our motivation. Who is there to say it is not like that? So this is the source of all, and the life principle is undergoing a process of becoming. So if there is a womb, this is the womb. If there is a sperm, this is also the sperm. So I am the donor of the womb. It's coming only later. Matta paradaram nanyat kinjidasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam prodam sutre manigana iva. Nothing else is higher than me, O winner of wealth, Arjuna. In me, all this is strung as a classified series, guna, gana, of precious beads on a string. Here Arjuna is called Dhananjaya. Dhana is wealth. Dhana also comes from the word dhanya and dhanya. Dhanya means that which makes you feel fulfilled. When you feel, I have become a dhanya, I have become content, fulfillment. What is a rich wealth? Wealth is when you are content and when you are not in need of anything else. You say, enough, I got it, what I wanted. So, O Dhananjaya, victor over wealth. And you are looking for wealth. And all these things which you see here are money, which are pearls of great worth. Any person, which you see here, is a value. The son is a value to the father. The father is a value to the son. A picture is of value to me to teach. And teaching is a valuable thing. A book is of value to me. Thus, in this world, whatever you perceive, they all have a value. And now you can relate one value with another value. It is through your own consciousness that this value is assessed, this value is felt, this value is conceived. So other than this consciousness which is presiding over this and knowing this, what is there to string everything? And now when it is taken from person to person, you have to think of a universal string on which all values are strung. Then you say, Matta paradaram nanyat kinjidasti dhananjaya mai sarvamidam prodam sutre manigana iva. Very beautiful verse. Rasohamapsu kaundeya prabhasmi shashi suryayoho pranavas sarve vedeshu shabdah khe paurusham vrishu. I am the taste in waters, O son of Kundi, Arjuna. I am the light in the moon and the sun. I am Om in all the Vedas, sound in the sky, and a human quality in men. Now to know that the reference here is not to a person, not to even a divine person, but to this underlying value in all. The first thing we taste when you come to this world is the mother's milk. It's a taste. In that water is tough, with which we are sustained. We come to the world of sun in the day, moon in the night. And all that can be known is the wakeful, the dream, the deep unconscious, and the transcendent, which is equated to the Vedas. Veda means that which you know, that enables you to know. There is a book called Vedadhikara Nirupana by Chattambi Swami. And in that he says, Veda is not just a book, but anything that enables you to know, anything that comes to your knowledge. And you look at the world is presenting itself to you to be known. That is the Veda. It's not a book. And if you take Veda in that sense, you have a knowledge of the gross in the wakeful. You have a knowledge of the memory series of the dream. You have a knowledge that you slept very well, the unconscious. And you know that there are things which are still not known, but could be known someday. the unconscious and the unknown, from which the known and the conscious are always opening up. And these four aspects, when symbolically taken as are the wakeful, O, the dream, the causal or the unconscious, silent, Om. In the Veda, I am the Om. Sound in the sky and the human quality in man. You take the individual and you take the total space in which he is placed. Your relationship between you and another person is through your articulation. You reach the other person through speech, through word. The word itself is a light. Just in the Upanishad it is said, how do you live without the light of the sun, with the light of the moon? How do you live without the light of the moon, with the light of the fire? And how do you live without the light of the fire, with the light of the word? The word is considered as even surpassing all these phenomenal lights. Punnyo gandha prithivyancha tejachasmi vibhavaso jivanam sarvabhuteshu tabachasmi tabasvisho. I am the holy fragrance of the divinity, and also the brilliance of the luminary presence, the vital principle in all beings, and the essence of austerity in all ascetics. Bijam mam sarvabhutanam vidhi partha sanadanam buddhir buddhimadamasmi tejat tejasvinamaham. Know me, O Partha Arjuna, to be the perennial seed of all beings. I am the reason of the intelligent, so we have already said that. I am the reason of the intelligent, and I the brightness of those who are the brilliant. Balam balavadam chaham kamaraga vivarjidam dharma viruddho bhudeshu kamosmi Bharatarshapha. I am the strength of the strong, devoid of desire and passion. In beings I am desire which is not contrary to righteousness. O leader of the Bharatas, Arjuna. And here, a manifestation of the same in terms of existence, in terms of awareness, in terms of values, are pointed out specifically so that Arjuna may understand that the reference here is not to a person, but to that supreme reality which is permeating everything in all aspects, where nothing is to be rejected, nothing is to be thrown out. As it is, when they are all understood properly, we are making not a reference to anything outside it or other than that. And thus, a thing, by its substantiality, it is maintained. When that substance is gone, it falls through. This is called the balam, the inner integrity. And the integrity is its own truth. If it is not true, it cannot stand. You see a serpent, a cobra, you are frightened, but you bring a light and then you find that there is only a rope. It was not strong enough to hold itself, and therefore it is soon discovered to be an illusion. So whatever is strong it will persist. So one need not be afraid that God will go away if you have a good look at him. If God goes away like that, let him go. If it is truth, if there is strength, it will remain. So the force of truth is what sustains anything. Param Balavadam. And even your desires, you don't have to be ashamed of your desires. If that is what sustains you and the system to which you belong, then that's also is me. Dharma is that which supports, that which retains. Dharma aviruddha, that which is not opposed to that dharma, such kama asmi, I am that, and that also. Thus, we have here a very thoroughgoing presentation of the reality of things and the self. And the next 20 verse we are going to take tomorrow. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyade Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Avashishyade. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.